again, at this point, hopefully you have watched lesson 1.1. I'm going to slot this right in afterwards. It is not technically a lesson, but it is your orientation to the course workbook. And I want you to have that sooner rather than later, since you are going to be taking notes and completing the first step of your course-long project deliverable. You are going to be creating an evidence-based design brief on a space type of your choice. So if you're a student working on a studio project or a thesis, you can use this document to support that work. If you are a researcher or a designer actively in design practice, you can use this course to support that work. If you are putting together a portfolio because you want to be in the evidence-based design research world, this is also going to serve your portfolio. I wrote this course not to give you a credential, but so that you have something tangible and substantial to show for what you've learned, so that you can actually start doing this in the real world, have something to show for it. So that's what your workbook is designed to help you do. It is an accompaniment to this course, both in terms of taking notes, providing some guided review and reflection, and moving you along your course-long project. If you want to have a print copy of this workbook because you like to handwrite, please do that. If you want to make a fillable PDF of this workbook so that you can type into it, amazing. If you want to use it as a static guide and keep all of your information in a Microsoft Word document, please feel free to do that too. As an evidence-based design practitioner, you are going to have to get familiar with what method of documentation and record keeping works best for you. On every single project that I personally work on, I have an ongoing file that includes things like my research question, my hypotheses, my literature review, references that I've used. It all lives in one place. This workbook should help you start to think about all of the pieces that need to go into your project file. This is our how to use the workbook page. Hopefully this gives you some guidance as well, but each module is going to follow relatively the same structure within the workbook. You'll get an overview and learning objectives for each module, and then within each lesson, in the module, you'll have an opportunity for guided notes. There are also some reflection questions that follow each lesson. They're represented in the workbook, but they are also represented as open-ended questions on Teachable, this learning platform. I don't review those answers. So if you want to submit them through Teachable, go for it. If that is a helpful way for you to reflect on your progress, please do that. It's not a requirement in order to move through into the next module and mark it as completed. Don't worry. I will also be really clear on when I am going to review a submission and when you are going to get feedback. After module 5, you will submit almost a draft. And then after module 6, you'll submit your final deliverable and you'll get feedback then as well. But if you want to write down your answers to the reflection questions, they're not graded. I am not going to be scrutinizing them. It's an opportunity for you to learn, reflect on your learning, and self-pace your learning as well. There will usually be deliverable worksheets that help you move towards the deliverable for each module, and your running brief is the name that I'm going to give your course-long project. It is a running brief, a running evidence-based design brief, because it's running alongside the course. It's a continuous project. We're building on it with each module. And then you've got a self-review checklist just to make sure you are pacing yourself. This course is designed to be 1 to 2 weeks per module. Some of the later modules are going to take a bit longer, but this is entirely at your pace. You move on when you feel like you have accomplished the goals of that module. So let's take a look at what this looks like using Module 1. Module 1 covers these introductory topics for evidence-based design. These are the learning objectives, and you have a deliverable due this module. This is the foundation of your course-long project. You are going to be writing a topic statement. It is your chance to figure out what's interesting to you. You choose the project the building typology, the project type, the sector, the population. Ideally, it is a project that you are also currently working on Again, either in school, studio, actively in your own firm work or research work. Pick something that is personally interesting that you are currently working on, if possible. That's going to keep this like fresh and exciting for you and relevant. So, this worksheet starts the module, but it certainly does not have to be filled out before you go through the lessons. This is a way for you to start thinking about what's interesting to you and get specific. Over the course of the next 4 lessons in Module 1, you will hear me harp on specificity. We can't test something if you're not specific about what it is and who it's serving. So this is your chance to figure out what you're interested in really specifically. This is not for my eyes, it is for your eyes only, so write it a couple times. And it can change. If by module 4, you're like, hey, I found a totally different building typology, cool, write a new topic statement. This is intended for you to iterate on, not lock in on. I've added some examples here in like the terracotta font so that you can see what level of specificity we're looking for this foundation. These are your guided notes sections. Again, you can take handwritten notes in here. You can make it a fillable PDF. You could also fill out the open-ended questions that I've repeated in Teachable. So a lot of different ways to reflect on your material. There's also some references. So if you do print this workbook out, you've got some reference pages to refer back to, like this one. This page, where it says running brief, this is your topic statement. This is the information that should be in a topic statement. If you choose to use this worksheet, amazing. If you choose to write it out in a more narrative style, like 5 to 6 sentences, half a page, that's fine too. Again, for your record keeping. But what I want to know, what is your space type? Who is it serving? What is the context, right? Are we talking about a 200-bed med-surg tower, or are we talking about one classroom in a preschool learning center? Tell me what scale we're working at here. If you know who commissioned the project, or even imagine who might commission the project, that's helpful context too. Is this a public project? Is it privately funded? If it's a K-12 school, for example, did it have to pass a bond initiative? If all of those things sound totally familiar, don't worry about it. Add as much context as you have. What does success look like for occupants in this space? Like, how do you know? If you build a great building, how do you know if it's a great building? What are people going to experience if it's a great building? That is going to form the basis of your dependent variables. I'm getting ahead of myself for the next couple lessons, but I want you to start thinking about measurable outcomes. How do you know if it worked? What assumptions do you want to challenge with evidence? There are a lot of assumptions and a lot of wrong assumptions out there in the architecture and design world. What do you want to know? Is there something that you've been told as like the gospel truth that might require a little bit more inquiry? If you don't know yet, that's totally fine. As we go through this course, you might realize that something that you held to be true hasn't really been scrutinized enough. And then the main thing that I want you to have by the end of this is a topic with 2 hypotheses. Those hypotheses can change, but you need to get practice writing in the if-then format. I know all of you have written a hypothesis before. I know it feels like reinventing the wheel to practice if-then statements. But we're applying this to design and we're keeping record of what you predict might happen. So that's what you'll be looking at for week 1. After you have finished the lessons, you'll have a self-review checklist, you'll have a reflection. When we reflect on our learning, we retain learning. This is an evidence-based design course, so I'm going to give you some evidence on learning outcomes as well. When you reflect on what you've learned, when you literally write it down, you retain it more, you connect more with that information, you're more likely to apply it. So the workbook is it's not for me, it's for you. You'll see the same thing repeated again when you move into module 2. If you have any questions about the workbook, or if you notice anything that needs to be tweaked, please send me a note. This course is always a work in progress. As designers, we are always iterating, so I'm happy to make sure that this is working for